I grew up with just my dad after Mom died when I was 12. We were a team until he married Diane, and her son Tyler moved in. Life was okay. I graduated college, got a marketing job, and met Amanda at the campus coffee shop during senior year. She was studying nursing, had the brightest smile, and within 6 months, I knew she was the one. Then my dad called me into his study with a strange expression. "We need to talk about Amanda," he said seriously. I never thought my own family would force me to choose between love and loyalty. Before I tell you how my family destroyed my relationship, drop a comment saying where you're watching from, and hit that subscribe button if family drama keeps you up at night. Growing up with my dad, Robert, after losing my mom to cancer was tough, but we formed a tight bond. Dad was a self-made contractor who taught me the value of hard work and honesty. We had our routine watching basketball games on weekends, grilling steaks on Sundays, and talking about life during long drives. For 4 years, it was just us against the world. Everything changed when I turned 16. Dad met Diane at a neighborhood barbecue. She was a real estate agent with perfectly styled hair and a smile that never quite reached her eyes. Within 8 months, they were married, and suddenly I had a stepbrother. Tyler was 2 years younger than me, lanky, with a permanent smirk that suggested he knew something you did not. The dynamic shifted immediately. Our quiet house became filled with Diane's constant redecorating and Tyler's loud music. I tried to be welcoming. Helped Tyler with homework, included him when friends came over, but there was always an undercurrent of competition I could not understand. Tyler would casually mention how Dad had taken him fishing or to a baseball game, activities that used to be our things. Diane was pleasant enough on the surface, always asking about my plans and grades, but something felt calculated about her interest. She would rearrange my room when I was at school, claiming she was helping organize or comment on my clothes not being appropriate for a young man of your potential. Dad seemed oblivious, too eager to make his new marriage work, to notice the subtle power plays. Despite the changes at home, I focused on my future. I worked hard through high school and became the first person in our family to attend college. I chose business administration, hoping to eventually start my own company someday. 4 years of classes, part-time jobs, and internships flew by. After graduation, I landed a position at Peterson Marketing, a respected firm downtown. I decided to live at home for a year to save money for my own place. My starting salary was decent, but not enough for a comfortable apartment in our expensive area. Dad seemed happy to have me around, though Diane would often mention properties she had listed that would be perfect for a young professional. Tyler, by then, a mediocre community college student, made comments about my failure to launch despite my clear financial plan. Then, I met Amanda. It was 3 weeks after graduation, and I was at the campus coffee shop meeting an old professor for career advice. She was behind me in line, juggling nursing textbooks and a massive thermos. When she dropped her student ID, I picked it up and noticed we had the same unusual middle name, Ellis. It became our inside joke, our sign that we were meant to meet. Amanda was everything I admired in a person. Compassionate and driven, she volunteered at a children's hospital while completing her nursing degree. She came from a tight-knit Italian-American family with Sunday dinners that spanned hours and 3 generations. Her laugh was infectious, and she had this habit of furrowing her brow when concentrating that made my heart skip. For 6 months, everything was perfect. We hiked on weekends, cooked elaborate meals in her tiny apartment, and talked about our dreams. She wanted to become a pediatric nurse practitioner, eventually. I shared my hopes of saving enough to start my own marketing consultancy. We both wanted 2 kids, a house with a garden, and a tradition of family road trips. For the first time, I could picture my future clearly. When I finally brought Amanda home for dinner, everyone seemed impressed. Dad pulled me aside afterward and said he was happy for me. Tyler was unusually attentive, asking Amanda about her studies and family. Diane prepared an elaborate meal and gave Amanda a tour of the house, pointing out childhood photos of me that even I had forgotten existed. Yet something felt off. As weeks passed, Diane began asking increasingly personal questions about Amanda's family background, their financial situation, and her career prospects. "Nursing is so noble," she would say, "but the hours are terrible, and the pay hardly matches the effort. Have you considered hospital administration instead?" Tyler suddenly took interest in my social schedule, asking when Amanda would visit again, or if we had weekend plans. I noticed him scrolling through her social media profiles when he thought no one was looking. Most concerning was Dad's change in behavior. He grew quieter at family dinners when Amanda was mentioned. His usual enthusiastic questions about my life became brief nods and subject changes. Once I overheard him and Diane arguing in hushed tones, catching only fragments not fair to him, and Tyler deserves a chance too. One evening I passed Tyler's room and heard him and Diane whispering. I caught the words just like Amanda and Glen needs to understand family comes first. When they noticed me in the hallway, they separated quickly, Tyler suddenly needing a snack, and Diane claiming she was checking on laundry. I brushed these incidents off as the normal awkwardness of blending families. I had no idea they were the warning signs of the betrayal about to upend my life. 3 months into my relationship with Amanda, my dad called me into his study one Sunday evening. The wood-paneled room had always been our space for important conversations, college acceptance letters, financial discussions, man-to-man talks. The serious expression on his face reminded me of when he told me Mom's cancer had spread. "Glen, we need to discuss something important." Dad began fidgeting with his wedding ring, a nervous habit he had developed after Mom died. "It is about Amanda." I straightened in my chair, concerned something had happened. "What about her?" Dad cleared his throat. "Tyler has developed strong feelings for Amanda. He believes they have a special connection." The statement was so absurd I actually laughed. "Dad, that is crazy. Amanda and I have been together for 6 months. Tyler has met her maybe 5 times always when I was present. He says they have been texting, Dad continued, not meeting my eyes. He feels they have similar interests and values." "That is impossible," I said, my amusement turning to confusion. "Amanda would have mentioned that." Dad shifted uncomfortably. "Son family should come first. Tyler has had fewer opportunities than you. You have always been confident, successful. Tyler struggles." Slowly, I realized what he was suggesting. "Are you asking me to break up with Amanda so Tyler can date her?" The silence that followed was answer enough. "That is insane," I said, standing up. "Amanda is not an object to be passed around. She is a person with her own feelings. Feelings for me. I'm not saying—" Immediately, Dad backpedaled. "Just consider stepping back. Give Tyler a chance to connect with her." I stared at my father, a man who had taught me about respect and integrity, now suggesting I manipulate the woman I loved. "This conversation is over," I said, walking out, but it was far from over. The next day, Diane cornered me in the kitchen. "Your father is too soft to say what needs to be said," she began, arms crossed. "Tyler has been depressed for months. His therapist thinks having a goal, someone like Amanda, could give him purpose. So my happiness should be sacrificed for Tyler's therapy?" I asked incredulously. "Family makes sacrifices," she countered. "When my sister wanted the same promotion as me, I stepped aside because she needed it more. That is what family does." The pressure escalated over weeks. Dad mentioned how my marketing job had so many opportunities to meet people, while Tyler's classes limited his social circle. He reminded me of the support they provided, letting me live at home, helping with my student loans. The implications were clear. My relationship was the price for their continued support. Tyler himself finally confronted me in the driveway after work. "You have everything handed to you," he said bitterly. "Top grades, college degree. Great job, Dad's approval. Can I not have just one thing for myself? Amanda is not a thing." I replied, my patience wearing thin. "And I worked for everything I have. You do not deserve her," he spat. "I would appreciate her more. We connect on a deeper level than you ever could." Family dinners became battlegrounds of passive-aggressive comments. Diane would mention how Tyler had researched nursing programs out of interest in Amanda's career. Dad would awkwardly change the subject when Amanda's name came up. Tyler would make pointed comments about being the more sensitive brother. Meanwhile, Amanda noticed the change in me. The stress affected our relationship. I became distracted during our dates, checking my phone, constantly worried about what new ultimatum awaited at home. "You seem distant lately," Amanda said, one night over dinner. "Is something wrong?" Did I do something I could not bring myself to tell her the truth, that my family was treating her like a prize to be won. Just work stress, I lied, hating myself for the deception. Our first serious argument followed, when I canceled our weekend trip at the last minute after Diane guilted me about missing Tyler's important presentation that was suddenly scheduled the same weekend. "You have been canceling plans for weeks," Amanda said, tears in her eyes. "If you do not want to be with me anymore, just say it." "Of course I do," I insisted, unable to explain the real situation. The breaking point came 3 weeks later. Amanda called me, voice shaking. "Why did your stepmom show me texts from your phone about wanting to break up with me?" she demanded. My blood ran cold. "What texts?" "She said she accidentally saw them when borrowing your phone. Messages to someone named Jason about feeling trapped with me and wanting out. I had never sent such messages. Jason was my college friend who had been supportive of my relationship. Diane had either gone through my phone and fabricated a conversation or created fake messages herself." Before I could formulate a response, Dad delivered his ultimatum that night. "Glen, this situation is tearing the family apart. Either you end things with Amanda properly, or you will need to find your own place to live. And I cannot continue helping with your student loans." The financial threat was significant. My entry-level salary would barely cover an apartment and living expenses, let alone the additional loan payments. Tyler no longer bothered hiding his intentions. "I will take good care of her when you are gone," he said with a smug smile. "Amanda deserves someone who puts her first." The irony of his statement was painful. I was being forced to break Amanda's heart precisely because I could not put her first. Family loyalty was being demanded instead. That night, I made the hardest decision of my life. I would end the relationship to protect Amanda from being a pawn in my toxic family drama. She deserved better than being manipulated by Diane or pursued by Tyler out of some twisted competition with me. I asked Amanda to meet me at the park where we had spent countless evenings watching sunsets. The fall leaves crunched under our feet as we walked to our usual bench. Her hand felt small in mine, and I realized with a sharp pain that this would be the last time I would hold it. "Something has changed," I began, my voice already betraying me. "I think we need to take a step back from our relationship." Amanda's eyes widened, confusion and hurt flashing across her face. "Where is this coming from?" "Just last weekend, you were talking about taking me to meet your grandparents at Christmas." Each word felt like glass in my throat. I am not ready for how serious this has become. My career needs to be my focus right now. The lies tasted bitter. "That is not the real reason," she said, tears forming. "We have always supported each other's goals. Please, Glen, tell me what is really happening." I could not bear to tell her the truth, that my family was treating her like property, that my stepbrother had some entitled claim on her, that my own father had chosen his new wife's son over me. The shame and anger were too much. "I just do not feel the same anymore," I said flatly, hating myself with each word. "It is better to end things now before we go any further." Amanda's tears fell freely now. "I do not believe you. Something else is going on. Please talk to me." "There is nothing to discuss," I said, standing up to leave before I broke down. "I am sorry, Amanda. You deserve someone better." Her last words to me as I walked away were, "I thought you were different. I thought you were brave enough to be honest." Those words would haunt me for years. When I returned home, I went straight to my room and started packing. Clothes, books, mementos, anything I could fit in my car. Dad knocked on my door, surprised by the packing frenzy. "Glen, what are you doing?" he asked, concern finally showing in his eyes. "Exactly what you asked," I replied coldly. "I broke up with Amanda. Now I am moving out. You got what you wanted." "Son, I never wanted you to leave," he protested. "We can work this out as a family." "Family," I laughed bitterly. A real father would never ask his son to give up someone he loves for a stepbrother's whim. My real family died with Mom. His face crumpled, but I was beyond caring. Years of built-up resentment poured out as Diane appeared in the doorway. "Are you satisfied now?" I asked her. "You have successfully manipulated Dad into choosing Tyler over me, just like you have wanted since day one." "That is completely unfair," Diane gasped, with practiced indignation. "Everything I have done was for this family." Tyler appeared behind them, looking uncertain for the first time. The reality of my departure seemed to be sinking in. Dad made one last attempt to stop me. Please let us talk about this. I can help you find an apartment, continue supporting you. I do not want anything from you, I interrupted. Not anymore. I loaded my car and drove to Jason's apartment. He had offered his couch when I called earlier, explaining my situation in broken sentences. Stay as long as you need, man, he had said, without hesitation. The following months were the hardest of my life. I slept on Jason's couch for 3 weeks before finding a tiny studio apartment I could barely afford. My budget was stretched to the breaking point, with rent, utilities, loan payments, and basic necessities. Ramen noodles and peanut butter sandwiches became staples. I picked up weekend shifts at a local bar to supplement my income, often working 70-hour weeks between both jobs. The physical exhaustion was almost welcome compared to the emotional toll. I would lie awake at night, replaying Amanda's tears, wondering if I should have told her the truth, fought harder, found another way. I checked my phone constantly, both dreading and hoping for messages from my dad or from her. Dad texted a few times asking how I was doing, offering financial help. I responded with brief updates but refused the money. My pride was all I had left. Diane sent a single message claiming I had misunderstood everything and that I was breaking your father's heart. I did not reply. From mutual friends, I heard that Tyler had indeed tried to pursue Amanda. She had firmly rejected him, apparently, telling him she wasn't interested in dating anyone, especially someone who considered relationships a competition. The news brought a small measure of satisfaction. I saw Amanda twice around town, once at the grocery store, where we made brief eye contact before I ducked down another aisle, cowardice winning over the desire to explain. The second time at a coffee shop where she was studying with classmates. I left immediately, coffee forgotten on the counter. Each encounter reopened the wound. Gradually, painfully, I rebuilt my life. After 6 months of exceptional work, I received a promotion that eased my financial strain. I found a slightly better apartment with actual bedroom walls instead of a studio. I made new friends through work and my weekend job, creating a circle separate from my old life. Jason convinced me to try therapy. "You are carrying too much, man," he said one night after I woke up from another nightmare. "Professional help is not admitting defeat." He was right. Weekly sessions helped me process the betrayal, the grief of losing Amanda, the childhood issues resurfacing from losing my mother and then my father in different ways. I learned to recognize Diane's manipulative patterns and how they had affected my relationship with Dad. I began to understand Tyler's insecurity and how Diane had weaponized it against me. Though understanding did not equal forgiveness. Dating again was challenging. I went on a few first dates that went nowhere, the specter of Amanda, and my trust issues sabotaging any connection before it could form. One woman told me straight out, "You are clearly not over someone. Call me when you are." A year after the breakup, I heard through the grapevine that Amanda had accepted a position at a children's hospital in Colorado. She was moving away, starting fresh, just as I was trying to do. I felt a complex mix of sadness and relief. Perhaps distance would finally allow the wound to close. In that same period, Tyler's life seemed to be spiraling. The community college program he had been half-heartedly pursuing was abandoned. Friends mentioned seeing him bartending at various places, never holding a job for long. His social media showed increasingly concerning partying and vague complaints about how some people have all the luck and life never gives me a fair shot. I tried not to take satisfaction in his struggles, recognizing that Diane's enabling and manipulating had damaged him too in different ways. We were both victims of her toxic family vision, though he had been a willing participant in my pain. Nearly 4 years passed. I had built a successful career at Peterson Marketing, eventually becoming a team lead. I had my own comfortable apartment, a small but reliable friend group, and had even started a side business with Jason, creating marketing materials for local restaurants. My relationship with my father remained distant, occasional text messages, brief phone calls on holidays, one awkward lunch when he was downtown for a doctor's appointment. I had not been to the family home since the day I left. Diane, I avoided entirely. The wound had scarred over, but I kept it protected. Then came the day that brought everything full circle. I was at my favorite coffee shop, working on a presentation, when someone slumped into the chair across from me. I looked up to see Tyler almost unrecognizable. His once carefully styled hair was unkempt with patches of gray, despite being only 25. Dark circles underlined bloodshot eyes, and his clothes had the rumpled look of being worn for multiple days. The smug expression I remembered had been replaced by something harder, more bitter. "Hello, brother," he said, the last word dripping with sarcasm. I closed my laptop. "Tyler, what are you doing here? Saw you through the window. Thought it was time for a family reunion." He gave a humorless laugh. "Bet you are loving how everything turned out, huh?" "What are you talking about?" I asked, already regretting not leaving at the sight of him. "Look at you, nice clothes, fancy computer, probably a nice apartment too. Meanwhile, my life is a complete disaster, and it is all your fault." His voice rose slightly, drawing glances from nearby tables. I kept my voice level. "I have not seen you in 4 years. Whatever is happening in your life has nothing to do with me. Everything went wrong after you left," he hissed. Dad changed. Started questioning Mom's decisions, standing up to her. "They fight all the time now. And Amanda." He practically spat her name. "She never gave me a chance. Told me I was emotionally stunted and needed therapy, not a girlfriend. As if she knew me at all." A strange feeling washed over me, part vindication, part pity. "Tyler, you tried to take my girlfriend by manipulating our parents into forcing me to break up with her. What did you expect would happen? She was meant to be with me," he insisted, sounding delusional. "We had a connection. Mom said you were too focused on your career anyway, that Amanda needed someone who would prioritize her." I shook my head, amazed at the level of entitlement. "Amanda is a person who makes her own choices. She was never a prize to be handed from me to you." Tyler's expression darkened. "Everything was fine until you left. Dad started drinking again. Did you know that? Spends weekends in the garage with his old car, ignoring Mom. Says he lost both his sons, one to death and one to his own mistakes." He leaned forward. "You ruined everything by overreacting." Something in his words caught my attention. "Dad is drinking again, since when?" Tyler waved dismissively. "Last couple years, after his heart scare. Doctor said it was stress-related. He had to cut back on work, stays home more, with Mom driving him crazy." He laughed bitterly. The great Robert Ellis brought down by his ungrateful son. Despite everything, concern for my father surfaced. "Is he okay now physically? Why do you care? You abandoned him." Tyler's eyes narrowed. "Or are you worried about your inheritance?" I ignored the jab. "Have you considered that maybe the family dynamic was the problem, not my leaving, that maybe Dad finally saw what was happening?" Tyler stood, suddenly swaying slightly. "Mom was right about you, always thinking you are better than everyone. Well, guess what? Your perfect life is built on running away from problems instead of working through them as a family. You ruined my life, and someday you will realize what you threw away." As he stormed out, I sat there processing the encounter. Through Tyler's distorted lens, I had glimpsed truths I needed to investigate. Dad's health problems, the change in his relationship with Diane, the possibility that he regretted his choices. Later that week, I called a mutual family friend who confirmed Tyler's claims about Dad's health: a minor heart attack, 2 years ago, followed by depression and increased drinking. The friend also revealed something else. "Your dad told me once, after a few too many beers, that the biggest mistake of his life was letting Diane come between you two. Said he should have stood up for you." That weekend, I drove to the hospital where Dad volunteered in retirement. I found him helping an elderly man into a wheelchair, looking older than his 58 years, but with the same kind eyes I remembered from childhood. When he saw me, he froze. "Glen, hi, Dad," I said, suddenly nervous. "Can we talk?" We sat in the hospital cafeteria, two strangers connected by blood and broken trust. Slowly, painfully, we began to rebuild. He apologized for choosing peace with Diane over supporting me. I learned that Amanda had eventually discovered the truth through a mutual friend and had confronted my father directly. She told me I had failed as a parent, Dad said, eyes downcast. Said I taught my son that love was a commodity to be traded away. She was right. I discovered that shortly after Dad had started therapy himself, begun setting boundaries with Diane, and stopped enabling Tyler. The marriage had nearly ended, salvaged only by Diane's grudging participation in counseling. Tyler had moved out in a rage. When Dad cut off his financial support, insisting he find a job and contribute to his own living expenses. I tried to fix Tyler by giving him everything Dad admitted. Instead, I helped create an entitled man who believes the world owes him happiness. We did not resolve everything in one conversation. Trust would take time to rebuild, but it was a start. That evening, I received an unexpected email from Amanda. A mutual friend had mentioned seeing me with my father. The message was brief but powerful. "I heard you are